Hello. My presentation is How to Lobby, a step-by-step guide made by me, consulting different sources from online. So jumping right in, I'm going to first target in-person lobbying, and while it's not applicable right now because of quarantine and the coronavirus, there are a lot of important tips that I can share on what to do when lobbying a member of Congress in person. So the first step is contacting your congressperson, and when doing so, you must keep in mind that they have thousands of other constituents contacting them at the same time. Therefore, you must appear assertive, formal, and intelligent, however you choose to get in touch. Different forms of contact include email, a very popular choice and typically possible by going to the person's website and filling out a short form. Some Congresspeople are better at answering emails than others, though, and you may end up just receiving an automated message back. So, another type of contact is calling the office of your congressperson. It should be either on Google or on their website um, to call any office they may have. They'll have an office typically in your city and in Washington, D.C. I would call the one closest to where you live, since setting up an appointment at their D.C. office wouldn't be very productive if you can meet them right in the area. However, many members of Congress are impressed when lobbyers do make the trip down to DC, which could impact how your meeting ends up going. During their hours, typically, an administrative assistant or secretary will pick up the phone and ask you why you're calling. It's best to get right to the point and tell them what you're lobbying for and where you live. If you're a constituent, this will really help your case. Then request a meeting time. This could take time to schedule as members are very busy and have little availability in their schedules. Sometimes the members themselves will be unable to meet with the lobbyers, so they'll send an administrative assistant instead. Additionally, your meeting will most likely last under half an hour, so be prepared for that. Once a meeting date and location have been set up, make sure to send a confirmation email including your contact information, such as name, phone number, and address. So next is writing your speech. When it comes to writing your speech, there are a lot of important tips and tricks that can help you both concisely and effectively speak to a member of Congress. First, less is more. Members of Congress have to listen to so many people telling them things every day, and they'll want you to get right to the point and not waste their time, so to speak. So don't write a whole novel. But also keep in mind that personal stories are moving to everyone, even politicians. So if you have a specific story you want to tell that helps get your point across, write it down, but keep it short. Only talk about one important issue in your speech. Additionally, so though it may seem somewhat daunting, you do need to do research to write the speech and prepare for the meeting. Become familiarized with current legislation on your topic and where it is in government. Perhaps it's circulating through the Senate or Congress or House. Perhaps by chance the House will be voting on it in a week and you will get to meet with your congressperson before they vote. Make use of your time and cite the bill in your speech and try to convince them to vote your way. Make sure to also mention here that you're a constituent. Members of Congress are elected, which means they count on your vote and will do a lot to secure it. Another thing, familiarize yourself with your congressperson's current opinion on the subject. If your congressperson was a writer on the bill you're planning on citing, don't give the whole breakdown. They know it. And if they're already voting a certain way on the bill, or are a proponent, you don't need to reconvince them. Instead, thank them for their work and urge them to do more. So basically, the main thing is research, research, research. Know your stuff when you go into talk. A great website to use to look up current bills on certain topics and congresspeople's stances at the national level is www.congress.gov, and at the state level for Pennsylvania is www.legis.state.pa.us. Next, we're going to focus on what to wear. It is crucial that you appear professional and serious about your topic, so don't show up in sweatpants. Instead, it is preferable that you wear dress pants or a dress skirt of knee length or longer. Pair this with a dress shirt and, if possible, a suit jacket. A business-appropriate dress will also work. However, depending on what topic you lobby on, there may be a certain shirt or other item of clothing you can wear while continuing to follow these strict policies. For example, if you are lobbying against climate change, you may choose to wear a Sunrise Movement official shirt, as this is a prominent organization in the environmental department that will help get your point across. For shoes, maybe ditch your old Nikes and opt for dress shoes. Heels are not required but are acceptable as well. While these guidelines are suggestions, your congressperson is much more likely to take you seriously if you're wearing something along these lines. So next is what to say when you're speaking to your member of Congress. And this is extremely important to lobbying. You must make an impression on your congressperson or whoever you're speaking to, as most likely you will be speaking to an aide. This doesn't mean make them change their minds or political ideology. Just make sure they know exactly why you came here and ask of them whether that be voting, and your ask of them, whether that be voting on a specific gun control bill or working with others to write a bill on climate change or whatever. You will have a prepared speech and notes from earlier, but before going in, I recommend memorizing it or at least knowing most of it so that you aren't constantly looking at the sheet of paper. This will make you seem more professional and prepared. On top of that, make sure to make direct eye contact with your congressperson. Address each word to them and speak with purpose. Speak loudly and with confidence, and don't forget to thank them for their time at the end. Send a written thank you note for meeting with you afterwards. And these tips and tricks will make your speech and ideas resonate with them even if you can't fully convince them to do what you want. An alternative to in-person lobbying is phone lobbying. Of course, with the current pandemic going on and typical busy schedules while not on quarantine, this method will be very useful. The procedure is similar to speaking in person, but there are a couple of key differences. First, contact your congressperson as explained earlier. However, instead of setting up a time for an in-person meeting, ask about their preferred platform to meet. This may be over the phone again, or on Zoom, or a different method. Set up a time for the meeting on the agreed-upon platform, and you can move on to writing your speech. Do this in the same way as if you were meeting in person, and I'd still recommend printing it out, so that you're not switching tabs during the meeting. Additionally, still dress to impress over the phone. Just because you're home and doesn't give you a free pass to show up to an important meeting in your pajamas, especially if you're on camera. Again, remember to thank your congressperson and their aide once the meeting is over. During this time, a thank you email should suffice. Finally, one last alternative to in-person lobbying is writing an email or letter. Right now, I would recommend sticking to emails for everyone's health and safety, but the procedures apply to both. These methods are as well very similar to in-person lobbying. However, while writing a letter or emailing, there is no need to call your congressperson beforehand. A simple introduction at the top of your email or letter will suffice. State your name, phone number, email address, home address with zip code. This is how they will determine whether or not you are a constituent and get back to you. Your organization, if you're working with one. Keep these short as well. Letters are recommended to be a page or less. Also, make sure to clearly identify your issue in the subject line. If you're advocating for gun control, write "message for Pat Toomey on gun control" or something along those lines. And if you're referencing a specific bill, the number of the bill. This is extremely important because many staffers will automatically delete emails with no subject line. Write your letter or email similar to your speech and make sure to include the ask. At the end, include a thank you for whoever is reading. For example, "Thank you for taking the time out of your day to read this, and I look forward to hearing back from you." If they respond, they may not. Make sure to thank them again. However, you may just receive a pre-written response. This doesn't mean that your email or letter wasn't read, just that there was no direct question necessitating an individualized answer from your congressperson. If you want an individualized response, make sure to include a question about the bill or the congressperson's stance on the issue. For example, what is Pat Toomey's position on gun control? Or would he be willing to become a proponent of the current bill, H.R. 1437? Keep in mind, you still may receive a pre-written response, but this will increase your chance of the alternative. And that is all for this presentation. Here are my cited sources. I hope that you have learned something important today about lobbying and that you will be more inclined to do it in the future.